Hello and welcome to GC360, your source for the latest news and stories from the heart of our community and beyond. I'm Jalen Brooks, and we have a packed show for you today.
And I'm Skyla Morris. Whether you're a student, faculty member, or just someone interested in what's happening in our community, GC360 is here to keep you informed and engaged.
Coming up, the nation held its breath as the government was on the brink of a shutdown. What this could mean for you.
Central State, a historical landmark in our community, is currently undergoing a remarkable transformation as demolition work commences. We'll tell you about changes taking place at this iconic location and the potential impact our community.
This is GC360, where news comes full circle. Thanks for joining us. We begin with a close call in the nation's capital. The government teetered on the edge of a shutdown as lawmakers grappled with a looming deadline. This stemmed from deep divisions over budget priorities and funding allocations. So, the shutdown was averted after a last-minute vote, but now the House of Representatives is without a permanent speaker. Members made history this week by voting to remove Speaker Kevin McCarthy from his position. This is the first time this has happened in U.S. history. The move was initiated by a small group of Republicans angry over McCarthy's decision to work with Democrats to avoid a shutdown. The House plans to hold another speaker election next Wednesday. Our next story is about a historical landmark that is now facing the wrecking ball. Parts of the iconic Central State Hospital are being torn down. Here's our reporter, Aaron Finnegan, with details and reaction from the community.
Yeah.
The Walker, Jones, and Green buildings at Central State Hospital are being demolished by the end of fall. The Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities decided the buildings were a safety hazard to the public. Susie Park, a senior at Georgia College, president of the History Club, and an Andalusia student dachshund, shared her thoughts on the issue.
I think they are very unsafe. I know lots of people here in Milledgeville kind of make it like a bit of a pilgrimage to go and explore Central State. And so you always hear horror stories of somebody falling through the floor and then getting hurt or getting stuck, and then you have to call the police. So you have like the immediate dangers in the sense of things you cannot anticipate beforehand, but then you have things like, with modernity, we realize that you shouldn't have asbestos in your house or anything like that. So all of these buildings are going to be covered in asbestos, black mold, things like that. So I really kind of think it would be for the benefit of everybody to just tear it down and kind of remove it as an option for people to, possibly hurt themselves.
Georgia Governor Brian Kemp signed to demolish the buildings on July 25th. The Department of Behavioral Health did an in-depth search for alternate options to demolishment. Cassie Munnell, curator of Andalusia Farm, gave insight on building preservation.
With Central State, there's some defacement that happened by the patients there. Preserving that defacement would be just as important as restoring it completely to brand new, because that defacement is part of the story. So really it's a very, very in-depth, very expensive process, or it can be, and it's a very research-heavy process. Every choice you make should ideally be based on something that you have evidence of. You shouldn't just be guessing. You should always be able to sort of show your work when it comes to preservation.
If they were to reserve the buildings, it would cost upward to $31 million. The demolishment will cost the state of Georgia $5 million.
In regard to the fact that after these buildings are demolished, it's going to be up for grabs in the sense of, okay, are they going to, maybe build a dormitory or replace it and have a restaurant or something like that? Milledgeville as a whole economically would benefit more from that than just leaving those buildings there and or putting in, the respective $10 million into each of those 3 buildings.
Milledgeville residents are concerned with what will happen to the land after the buildings are demolished. Restaurants or the Department of Behavioral Health, collaborating with other organizations to revise the area, have been the top rumors floating around. Reporting from GC360, I'm Erin Finnegan.
Mental health is on the minds of many students here at Georgia College. With midterm exams this week and countless other stress factors, how are students coping? And what resources does this school provide to help them? Our reporter, Gracie Howard, has the answers.
For many students, college can be a difficult time. From keeping up with the demands of schoolwork to maintaining social obligations, students at Georgia College can easily become stressed and overwhelmed. One Georgia College student explained some of her personal struggles with stress caused by university life.
Often I've noticed professors and classes in general don't accommodate for people with anxiety in the classroom, and I have severe test anxiety, and so it's difficult for me because professors, they give exams all the same to everyone, so that makes me feel like I should be doing something different.
Although many students may struggle with issues like anxiety, Georgia College offers many resources to improve students' mental health. Here at Georgia College, as well as in Recreation Center, GCSU students are offered 12 free counseling sessions per year. Although, according to the counseling office, only about 10% of Georgia College students utilize this service, and up to 60% of students could benefit from mental health therapy or counseling. In addition to in-person therapy sessions, GCSU also offers a 24/7 mental health support line, virtual support groups and workshops, and free self-help resources. One of these self-help services, called Teo, is a Mandarin word for path. This website helps students deal with panic attacks, insomnia, communication skills, chronic pain, and more. An additional free resource is Headspace, which teaches students observation and participation skills, as well as how to deal with sleep problems. Steve Wilson, head of counseling services at Georgia College, gives some insight on the importance of counselors.
I really do enjoy working with college students. This is a point in people's lives where they're making really big choices, and they're discovering what life can be like as an adult. People in college age are often, they're creating themselves. It's not, sometimes people say we're discovering ourselves, but we're creating the person that we're going to be. And part of what we do as counselors is help empower people to realize that they are the ones in the driver's seat.
Wilson says there are a few misconceptions when it comes to GCSU's counseling services. He says he's heard students say it can take a month to get an appointment with counseling services, when appointment turnaround time is actually 7 days. Wilson says some students think GC counselors only see students with severe mental health issues, even though services are available for all GCSU students. Pamela Jones is one of the counselors at the Counseling Center.
We also have access to our psychiatrist if someone needs help with understanding if they could possibly have a mental health diagnosis. We have that opportunity as well, and that is also free. And in the real world, it's really tough and difficult sometimes to schedule with a therapist or a psychiatrist. So having this right here in your own backyard over here on West Campus is really a benefit, and I hope more students will take advantage of that.
Through the stress of university life, Georgia College State University has made it clear that it's here to support its students with free and accessible mental health resources. Reporting for GC360, this is Gracie Howard.
On the topic of mental health, we've brought in a student and a professor to talk about their different perspectives on the situation. We go to reporter Caroline Hubbard.
Today we are here with Drew Odom and Assistant Professor Dr. Joy Godin. Welcome. Our first question today is, does the complexity level of upper level courses affect student mental health?
So I definitely think that the increasing complexity of courses as you move into your more advanced state of your degree can certainly affect students' mental health, as this work is often much more demanding of like getting into like an isolated environment to do concentrated work that is very rigorous. And so I feel sometimes students trying to scratch out time to make time to do this work during their day is difficult because they've often got lots of other obligations, trying to be a member of the community, trying to participate in other organizations, and trying to do things that are just in their best interest or in taking care of their health. And so I think that it can certainly pose a challenge to your mental health because oftentimes doing this work requires you to isolate from people in a way that's difficult to deal with, and you have to scratch time with, as opposed to doing things you would probably rather be doing.
So Dr. Godin, he says that the upper level courses require like self-isolation. How do you feel about that?
Self-isolation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I feel like that students and faculty need to be aware that students are having these issues and be cognizant of the fact that this could be going on. I always tell people that we have wonderful students at Georgia College, and I believe that's true with Drew here. I think that but sometimes you'll find that a student doesn't show up to class or doesn't turn in an assignment, and I think it's important that we as faculty, are aware there may be other things going on, not just the student not turning it in. So
yeah, I think an important thing to note too is that like kind of with what you're talking about, as attendance and assignments begin to run behind, those things often kind of build on top of each other in sort of like a self-perpetuating cycle. Like a student becomes absent, they become more discouraged because they feel themselves falling behind on this more difficult work, and as it becomes more difficult, participation becomes more difficult and mental health declines because they feel as if all their time's taken up doing the assignments, and then they're like doing poorly as well. So it's kind of a double negative thing, I would say.
Can I say something?
Of course.
Well, one thing I thought was interesting is that our the quality enhancement plan this year was for mental health, and students selected that. So I think that spoke to me as a faculty member that students do think that's an important fact, and I think we need to be aware and as faculty to look at indicators that a student's having trouble that way and turn them over to the care team. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for being here today. We really appreciate having y'all on the show.
Okay.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
Next on GC360, rack 'em up and get ready for a cute-tastic transformation. Your go-to 8-ball hangout, the Fat Squirrel, is swapping its local vibes for a chic and minimalist makeover.
While the world grapples with the urgent crisis of climate change, there's growing concern that our college may not be doing enough to address this global challenge. These and other stories when we return.
News anchor? What do you want? Like 10 seconds. Can you just read this announcement for me? Okay, 10 seconds. Okay. This semester, GC360 is introducing a new show, Cat Talk. We will showcase a new guest each month and deep dive into some topical issues of concern to you. You may also see some of our guests play some silly games while they're here with us. You won't want to miss this. From GC360, this is Isabella Vanderlende. So join me each month for Cat Talk right here on GC360.
Welcome back. This is GC360, where news comes full circle. We can all do something to reduce our carbon footprints, whether it's walking to class, recycling, or turning down that AC. But what does Georgia College do to run its campus in a sustainable way? Our reporter, Cami Marcotte, went searching for answers.
Georgia College students are no strangers to the idea of climate change, but many people, including students, do not understand the full extent of the issue. Some of the most common causes of climate change include generating electricity and heat by burning fossil fuels, manufacturing goods, cutting down forests, using individual forms of transportation, and producing certain kinds of food. By knowing the causes, it's easier to understand the effects. In Milledgeville alone, we're seeing hotter temperatures, more instances of severe weather, increased rates of inflation, and the scarcity of goods and resources. But the effects of climate change are everywhere. Environmental science majors Kat Stevens and Carrie Deason were able to speak more on the topic.
Well, I think GCSU already does an amazing job at combating just everything that's going on. Is like, well, one, the max, all leftover food is composted at the community garden on West Campus. I know that. They don't use paper plates, paper forks, anything. They wash everything. I know the Environmental Science Club has like a pop-up thrift shop. Like, I know they do it at least once a semester. They might do it more. They did it like last week. Pop-up thrift shop to just recycle clothing rather than let it go to waste. So we're already combating just like the waste in general. And then I feel like there's just so many other programs that they're starting, like localizing in different either clubs or just branches of the department that are just doing things. I mean, there's one of the physics professors is literally researching photovoltaic cells, which are found in solar panels right now. So I feel like community-wise, there's so many different people / groups / organizations that themselves are already changing certain aspects of things that other people aren't doing at home that are gonna fight that on its own. So I think a big way to like branch out is probably just like making these policies and changes go to like other groups. Like if like let's say sororities, fraternities started doing what the Max does, like they don't, every time they have an event that involves food, stop using paper plates, stop using plastic forks, stop from letting all that food go to waste, starting to maybe kind of do what the Max does and making sure that food doesn't go to waste, making sure there's not, we have so many students, like thousands of paper plates and paper forks, plastic everything that's all going to waste.
Still 80 degrees in October just because our climate is changing and the earth is warming. So there's been a huge increase of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases since the late 1700s that have warmed up the surface and lower atmosphere of our planet. Evaporation increases as the atmosphere warms, which increases humidity and severe weather occurrences.
Georgia College is already very costly for students, and until something is done about the increase in prices and worsening weather conditions, students will continue to be forced to either stay inside or dedicate more time and money towards surviving rather than thriving during their college years. Reporting for GC360, this is Cami Marcotte.
Time now for a look at the weather. I don't know about you, but I am still waiting on that fall weather and cooler temperatures. How it's looking this week, Ava?
Hello, Bobcats. After a long week of midterms, it's time for some well-deserved relaxation. And I know we are all looking forward for this upcoming fall break. So whether you're hitting the books or hitting the road, let's make sure you're all prepared for the weather ahead. With this fall break forecast, because it looks like the low 80s are here to stay. Tomorrow, Friday, consider grabbing a sweater because our campus will be having cloudy skies with a high of 81 and a low of 64. As we head into Saturday, expect the perfect weather for a picnic with a high of 67 and a cool of 56. Grapes are still in season, so consider adding them to your charcuterie board. On Sunday, temperatures will continue to drop with a high of 71 and a chilly low of 48. At this point, you might want to consider some warmer drinks to enjoy the weather and soaking up in the sun. Now, please ignore the Monday jump scare because we will be having classes on Monday. So let's take a look at this beautiful warmer day with a high of 76 and a brisk low of 46. Tuesday, we'll be having one of the warmest days of the week with a high of 79 and a low of 51. So it's looking pretty good for fall lovers over here. Wednesday forecast brings us another high of 79 and a low of 54, which is the kind of weather that makes me want to sit on the terrace porch and chat with some friends. And finally, as we approach next Thursday, the temperature will reach a high of 78 with a low of 57. There you have it, Bobcats, an amazing weather for your fall plans and a week ahead that's bound to keep the good vibes rolling. Enjoying the crisp air, the falling leaves, and all the pumpkin flavored treats you can get. After these many exams, you deserve it. I'm Ava Cartes. Back to you, Jay and Skyla.
Thanks, Ava. Fat Squirrel not only has a new name, but a new atmosphere for all to enjoy. Looking for a bite to eat before class? A late night snack? Well, Green Street Pool Tavern has got you covered under its new management. Here's Luke Wilson with the inside scoop.
Milledgeville's historic downtown is one of the city's biggest hotspots. Both college students and locals alike spend their free time enjoying local restaurants, bars, and shops downtown. So how do these downtown businesses stay relevant and evolve to cater their customers' changing demands? One downtown business owner, Tim Settle, believes in understanding what is already offered and taking advantage of new opportunities.
So we want to build something a little unique. You've got a lot of clubs and kind of the standbys that have been here forever, and we want to build something where people can come in without kind of the club scene and kind of hang out with their friends.
Settle has recently taken over what was once known as the Fat Squirrel, a bar that was popular with Milledgeville locals. Settle recently rebranded and reopened the business under the name Green Street Pool Tavern. But why? What changes have been made, and why buy out this long-standing location?
So we felt like there was a lot of opportunity here. It's a great spot. It's not on the main strip, but it's close walking distance. And who doesn't want to own a pool? So, we're welcoming to the entire community, not just college students. We also offer food now, so we feel like we're going to have a lot more visitors from lunchtime crowd and the community at large.
People like Settle are often questioned for buying out long-standing businesses. It isn't uncommon for new business owners to over-prioritize student life and forget local needs. Caroline Hegwood is a waitress at Green Street Pool Tavern and shared what the business hopes to achieve in the future.
So the biggest thing was food. We wanted a place where students and downtown workers and just people in general could come in, feel safe to eat, kind of feel cleaner. At Pool Hall, we only do college IDs after midnight on Friday and Saturday, so there is still plenty of time for the locals to come in, and they're able to come and go once they get their sample, once they've been in before. So I don't think we target college kids to an extreme where it's going to be an issue.
However, one common concern for downtown businesses is that most college students leave Milledgeville over the summer.
There's definitely some students that stick around, and we still really have a big clientele of downtown workers. We still have a really good community backing us.
Businesses in downtown Milledgeville are continuing to change and grow as more college students move to town. However, businesses must consider the needs of both their local and college customers. Reporting for GC360, I'm Luke Wilson.
Next on GC360, get ready for a thrilling ride through the world of drama and talent as we bring you an exclusive sneak peek into the highly anticipated campus play, These Shining Lives. Stay with us.
Welcome, listeners. How y'all doing? Coming soon, right from the classrooms of Midway Hills and Lakeview Academies, the Writing for Success podcast, a reimagining of the 1998 anthology, Everybody Has a Story to Tell, Stories of Flannery O'Connor's Milledgeville. Baldwin County students will share their stories as part of this 100% federally funded grant of $385,000 to improve literacy in Baldwin County elementary schools. That sounds pretty good, y'all. Come check it out. Can't wait to see y'all there, or hear y'all there, or just hang out there. See you there.
Welcome back. Now we go to Jackson for sports this week.
Thanks, Jalen. This week on sports, playoff baseball has officially started with the wild card this week. In the American League, the Texas Rangers beat the Tampa Rays 4-0, and the Minnesota Twins beat the Toronto Blue Jays 3-1. In the National League, the Arizona Diamondbacks took the win over the Milwaukee Brewers with a score of 6-3. And the other wild card game was a 4-1 victory of the Philadelphia Phillies over the Miami Marlins. Playoff games will continue throughout the week as the winner of each series of 3 games moves on to the next round of the playoffs. The Atlanta Braves have a bid for the wild card, with their opponent being the winner of the Philadelphia Phillies and Miami Marlins game. Turning to major high school sports news, the Georgia High School Association just approved new rules that allow athletes to earn money for their name, image, and likeness deals without losing amateur status. According to Fox 5 News, the rules are restrictive and say that deals cannot be made based on athletic performance or achievement, or used to help a student to play at a specific school. The school names, logos, gear, and school facilities can't be used with the player, and players are not allowed to endorse products such as tobacco or alcohol. Georgia is now joining the group of over 30 states already endorsing similar gains for their high school students. Turning to Georgia College sports, while the women's soccer team are coming off of a big loss against Flagler College, the Bobcats came into this matchup as the favorite with a record of 4 wins and 2 losses with 3 ties. Clayton State comes into the matchup with 3 wins and 2 losses, along with 4 ties. The Clayton State Lakers are in need of a win here as they go to St. Augustine, Florida to take on a tough Flagler College. Let's show up and be loud, Bobcat Nation. Back to you, Jalen and Skyla.
Let's turn our attention now to the stage. The Georgia College Theater Department brought to light the story of Catherine Donahue in their production of These Shining Lives. Attending audiences weren't expecting a history lesson from the production. Donahue's story is one of many among the Radium Girls, female factory workers who were employed with the company Radium Dial in the late 1900s. During years of dedicated work, the Radium Girls were exposed to radium poisoning and many developed cancer. But why is the story relevant today?
And now a look at entertainment news for the week.
Thanks, Jalen. Horror enthusiasts, mark your calendars because this Friday, the much-anticipated horror film The Exorcist Believer is set to terrify audiences once again. Directed by David Gordon Green, this chilling sequel promises to take the demonic possession horror to a new and terrifying heights. The Exorcist Believer revisits the iconic horror franchise that started it all, with a fresh and spine-tingling story. This time, we follow the harrowing experiences of a new family as they face unimaginable evil. Will they survive the relentless forces of darkness? For this week's box office report, it was positively successful for Paramount's Paw Patrol: The Mighty Movie. Despite finishing slightly below the initial weekend estimate, the Canine Heroes comfortably secured first place with a debut of more than $22.76 million. In a nail-biting second place, Lionsgate Saw X exceeded expectations. The gruesome thriller called its way to a remarkable $18.309 million, surpassing the studio's own estimates. That's all for this week. Back to you.
Well, that's all for GC360 this week. I'm Skyla Morris.
And I'm Jalen Brooks. We're not on the air. You can keep up to date with us on our social media. That's at GC360 News on Facebook and Instagram, and at bobcatmultimedia.com/GC360. Thank you for watching GC360, where news comes full circle.
Welcome, listeners. How y'all doing? Coming soon, right from the classrooms of Midway Hills and Lakeview Academies, the Writing for Success podcast, a reimagining of the 1998 anthology Everybody has a story to tell. Stories of Flannery O'Connor's Milledgeville. Baldwin County students will share their stories as part of this 100% federally funded grant of $385,000 to improve literacy in Baldwin County Elementary School. That sounds pretty good, y'all. Come check it out. Can't wait to see y'all there, or hear y'all there, or just hang out there. See you there.